What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another FIFA 20 Ultimate Team video, and today I want to give you my honest opinions and in-depth breakdown analysis of the FIFA 20 gameplay. And if you're at Gamescom right now and you want to give me your thoughts as to what needs to be patched in the upcoming release, then drop it in the comment section. But I'm going to break this video down into sections so it's easy for you guys to follow along and listen, and it allows me to remember what I need to speak about. So it's going to be a long one, most likely, and if you can support today's video by leaving a like, share it around as well, that'd be much appreciated. Without further ado, let's get into it. First thing that we need to speak about, which was one of the most overpowered broken mechanics from FIFA 19 that has thankfully been nerfed, and it is goalkeeper movement, and it's to the point of no return. That is how much they've decreased the speed of goalkeeper movement. You can move slightly to the left. It's really in small increments. You make the adjustment and then you're stuck. You can't go back the other way, which is fantastic, but it's really unrealistic. I could probably move faster, or maybe not. I'm a little unfit, but having to do the crab walk like in real life, left and right, yeah, I'd say I can move quicker than the FIFA 20 goalkeepers, which is fine for the game's sake, but if you're looking for that realism and that last line of defense moving your keeper, I don't agree with that, but it's just a good thing that it's been removed. No one asked for goalkeeper movement, and thank God they fixed it. I did say this video today was going to be in depth, and we've got to focus on defending because there is a lot to speak about. So what I'm gaining from that stand challenge now is the momentum, the consistency, the crunch, the commitment coming away with the ball. So more often than not, the defensive player is going to get rewarded. So if I was to have to bring up some figures like going back to FIFA 19, the success rate is about 60-40, and a large percentage of that 60% is relying on lucky rebounds being the defensive player, which just should not happen. FIFA 20, it's more like 80-20, and 80% of the time it feels fantastic and you've got that control. 20%, like 10 of it, makes up for just being unlucky and the ball rebounding, and the other 10, I think it's how you're going in for the challenge, and if you've not got that much momentum behind you, you're just not going to have that success rate. So the major improvement to FIFA 20 that I've seen is defending, and it is rewarding manual tackles, which is awesome. Now, player switching, please keep in mind, and I need you guys to be aware of this, I never play the game with stupid delay, like the weekend league where you just want to quit the game, you can't move your players. So the player switching for me was okay. Now, when you're not defending the ball holder and you're leaving too much space on the wings, that's where I feel it's very difficult to then adjust and try and find like your right centre back to drag them across the pitch. They've slowed it down to the point where they're wanting to open up the space. You know how they were trying to get players in like 1v1 situations? That's what they've done. They've really slowed down the tracking across ability. So once you get the better players, maybe it's going to help you a little bit, but it is still going to force you into closing down the ball holder, which is fantastic for the game. Now, one thing I will say is around the middle of the pitch, it is fine. Dropping back is still, in a sense, overpowered, and that's because of the pace of the game that I'm going to speak about that obviously has slowed down. So what comes with that is slow touches, slow passing, slow build up. I don't mind it to the point where if you're building up in the midfield, it's okay. But if you're trying to break down that last line of defense, or you know how they stack just 2 rows of 4 and the AI defending, it's not so much AI defending now. If you come up against someone who is just relatively good, I believe that the lack of ball speed and like playing it around and trying to find space, there's an imbalance there that I believe needs to be patched. But I'll speak about in a bit what I think that they should do with the dribbling. But in terms of defending overall, it's a major improvement and I really like it. So this leads me to my next point, and it is dribbling. Now, in my personal opinion, I would like to see a little bit more pace applied to the exit of skill moves and possibly the strafe dribble. So one thing that I noticed is that around the middle of the pitch, I didn't really have too many issues, but then if you're coming up against someone who's parking the bus, I want a little bit extra. And as they have nerfed the chaining of skill moves, doing the same thing over and over, or even let's say I want to do a heel to heel into an La Croqueta, that La Croqueta has been nerfed, but it's still useful in some situations. Really what they're playing on is if you time it right, you're going to get rewarded, which is fine. But one thing I disagree with, which is a part of FIFA 20, is that if you catch a player flat-footed in real life and they're face on, they're too square, and you get past them, you're getting away and you're creating some stuff. I still believe on FIFA 20, there's that sense of the defender is quite close to you still, and he's able to recover. I would like to see a bit more pace applied to the exit skill moves, the strafe dribbling, and just in general, like if I'm dropping my shoulder, let's say for example Modric, like he fakes that he's going to go one way and he exits out the opposite side. That's what I want to see a little bit more of. And around the middle of the pitch, they seem like they've near enough got the balance, but then if you're coming up against part the bus, you need something extra to be able to drop past them and just create some space. Otherwise, it leads to frustration, and then you just don't enjoy the FIFA game. But they've made some nice improvements to the dribbling. I thoroughly enjoyed strafe dribbling with the better players. When I got my hands on like the higher rated ones, they were so good with it. But that again leads me to the next point, pay to win sort of thing, because I was using some average players as well and it didn't feel as good. In fact, sometimes I felt a little bit stuck in mud, but it could just be when FIFA drops, it's all about discovering those meta cards, the overpowered players, you know how it is. So I don't want to judge that too much, but like I say, just to round up my discussion on dribbling, I think the exit skill moves needs to be a little bit sharper, snappier. Strafe dribbling, I think that's quite nice. It feels really, really amazing when you're coming up against someone who's an aggressive defender, and as they're trying to focus on that and force your opponent to make that challenge, you can just drop by them and then chain that as well. I might release a video on, well, when FIFA 20 is available for me to play again, I might release a video as to how you can chain skill moves. It is still in the game, it's not as overpowered, but there is a way if you can catch the exit with an LBRB. But that's something that we're going to have to see if it's patched, or I'll produce a video on it. But dribbling does feel pretty good. I would just like a bit more speed with the left stick dribbling and also overall dribbling. The next thing I want to speak about is build-up play, and the difference between FIFA 19 and FIFA 20 is noticeable. Like, it does seem a lot slower, but not to the point where you can't enjoy it. And if it makes sense and it rewards you for building up play, taking your time and finding those patterns of play and opening up space, I like that. That's realistic, and I will have enjoyment playing that style. But FIFA 19 and like going way back, I've always been like a fan of that arcade style. That's my preference, but it's something that I don't mind getting used to. And what I noticed, like overall building up play has been slowed down, but if you get yourselves into nice areas where you've got support around you and you play the quick first time, like 1-2 give and go, it feels in that certain situation, the quick speed and the momentum builds up and you can get past players. So if you really take it upon yourself to focus on your game plan, custom tactics, I think that that could be the meta, just having support, having options, quickly building up and getting through. Could be the answer of breaking down part of the bus. It's something that we need to get used to, but I like that speed. I'm not like a massive fan of the natural speed of the game, but it's all about adjusting. Like FIFA 19 is a lot slower than FIFA 18. FIFA 18 is a lot slower than FIFA 7. It's just the same. Every single year they start to slow down, and then before you know it, you've adjusted. So I do like the feel of the game. I think I am going to enjoy it overall. So if any of you are new to my channel, you wouldn't have seen my gameplay, and I rarely cross. And it's not because I didn't want to abuse the mechanics, that's just not part of my gameplay and game style. I prefer to pass it in the back of the net. Similar to like Barcelona, but not as good. I just have real enjoyment like breaking down an opponent's defense with a few passes, give and go, and finding the way through. It's like a puzzle, and that's my enjoyment, not so much just hoofing a ball from one side of the pitch to the other. Now, what was overpowered and broken on FIFA 19, scoop crosses, El Tornados, it didn't really make any difference how you got the ball in the air, but if you hit that cross on the volley, then it's going to go in the back of the net. The problem was, it was the trajectory and how the ball arrows towards the back post, and it just favors the attacking player. I tried scooping on FIFA 20 with worse players, and believe it or not, I did a scoop, and it went off the pitch. That is how bad the error is. But with the better players, I was able to scoop, and I did try and hit across, but it didn't have like that incredible accuracy. It just didn't seem that overpowered. So crossing, I think, is back to just being total RNG game, if I'm honest with you. So you're not going to be seeing it abused that much. I think FIFA 20 is more focused on like keeping the ball on the ground, passing, doing the quick 1-2 give and goes, getting into those 1v1 situations and dropping past players. Like I mentioned, it needs to be up just a little bit more, but we are onto something special here, and I am liking the feel, and I'm so pleased that crossing has been removed to the point where you won't see everyone abusing that mechanic. The next point that we need to speak about is shooting, and I believe that the finesse shots have made their way back into the game. It looks like a viable option, but not to the point where it's stupidly overpowered. It's just fantastic because it gives you that variety, the variation of taking what shot that you want in certain situations. Because FIFA and EA, they don't seem to be able to balance stuff properly with a live build. Like they either have it in the game or they completely remove it. And finesse shots were so broken at the start of FIFA 19 to the point that they just weren't really that good to take on. And I'm not a fan of that at all. So finesse shots seem that they've got the balance right there. The low drivens I try to take, and they are really, really weird. Now it could be I have to learn the angle, but I was just taking a regular LB, RB, holding those down, like half power to not like full power, like 3/4. Let's say 3/4 power, no timing of the shot at all. And I was scuffing it. Like I didn't really enjoy the low drivens. Some of them I was able to catch sweet and I scored, but I felt like that was a little bit lucky. So RNG involved with shooting still, but that's just part of FIFA, I guess. The timing of shots has completely changed. I think it's the actual timing, and it seems to be really difficult to hit that consistently to the point where I wasn't really that confident, but that's going to come with time. So FIFA 19, I remember that once we were hitting the greens, it was pretty much a guaranteed goal. And although I believe FIFA 20, they could increase the percentage still a little bit more when you're inside the box and they reward the attacking player for breaking down your opponent's defense, I think that the way to get around that is to learn the green time finish. And once you're good, that's going to fix finishing inside the box. That's what I hope and believe that's going to happen. If not, and it's still inconsistent with hitting greens, they're going to have to up the consistency a little bit. But when I was inside the box, I thought that it was an improvement on FIFA 19, so I like that. So yeah, like what I've spoken about today, we've had the defending that's been very much improved, and I think that's the major like groundbreaking discovery from EA. How amazing, like when you go in for a tackle and it rewards the defensive player. Wow, I mean, amazing. Build up play, it is a lot slower, but not to the point where it feels unplayable, especially with one of the latest builds. And then with the build up speed, it's okay when you're in like areas to do quick 1-2 give and goes. That feels really realistic. The drop back tactic needs to be nerfed just a little bit, or at least give the attacking player just a few more tools to be able to break that down. I think that we've got an imbalance there still, but it's not completely like to the point where you're left too frustrated. Like there is still ways to break down, but I'd like to see just more speed on the dribble. And then with shooting, I would say that, yeah, that's been increased, but room for improvements. Overall though, this is a good FIFA. But with that being said, are we going to be hit with button delay, bad servers? Is it going to be completely changing the way the mechanics have been set? That is the issue, and that's been the problem with FIFA for a while, ever since the new engine. Like back on FIFA like 13 and 12, before all of this like frostbite stuff, the game just used to lag. Now there's like lag compensation, and then it's just slow delayed gameplay, which is irritating and it needs to be fixed. But it's looking positive, boys, and I really can't wait to get my hands on the game to do the RTG. To get the big players and test out the icons. I think icons are just going to feel so good. And yeah, pay to win probably, but pay to win is always a thing. But boys, if you have enjoyed my breakdown, please do leave a like, give me your thoughts in the comment section, and I will see you on the next one. Team out, peace.